Forget everything you think you know about modern beauty. The most luxurious skincare products, the trendiest makeup tutorials, and even the wellness routines trending on social media, they all have their roots, knowingly or not, in the rituals of ancient Rome. Thousands of years before the invention of mascara tubes and branded face creams, Roman women were already mastering the art of beauty with materials found in nature, laboratories, and kitchens. This chapter takes you into a world where beauty wasn't just personal, it was political. It defined status. It revealed virtue. And most importantly, it preserved power. For Roman women, beauty was a weapon, not of vanity but of influence. The ideal Roman woman was pale-skinned, soft-featured, delicately perfumed, and perfectly coiffed. But behind that graceful exterior was an entire system of rituals, routines, and secrets passed down through generations. And many of those rituals were incredibly advanced, some even dangerous. So how did these women do it? How did they maintain flawless skin in a world with no sunscreen, no retinoids, and no dermatologists? How did they remove unwanted hair, reduce wrinkles, and create makeup that could withstand the heat of the Mediterranean sun? The answer lies in ingenuity and obsession. Roman beauty wasn't about fleeting trends, it was about the careful construction of image, a carefully engineered appearance that reinforced a woman's place in society, her family's standing, and even her connection to the gods. We begin with the Roman concept of beauty. Pale skin was considered the pinnacle of elegance. Why? Because it symbolized a life of leisure, a life untouched by the sun, by labor, or by poverty. Women of high rank would go to extraordinary lengths to maintain this pallor. They painted their faces with chalk or white lead, risking long-term health effects for the sake of aesthetic perfection. Lips were tinted with red ochre or wine dregs. Eyes were lined with kohl, a mixture of soot and antimony. Even eyebrows were carefully shaped and darkened using burned cork or powdered minerals. A well-groomed brow conveyed intelligence and control. Roman women didn't just stop at makeup. Their skincare rituals were surprisingly elaborate. Olive oil was the holy grail of ancient beauty. It wasn't just for cooking, it was used as a cleanser, moisturizer, and base for perfumes. Combined with fine sand or ground pumice, it became a natural exfoliant. Honey, another treasured ingredient, was used in masks to soften and brighten the complexion. It was often mixed with milk, eggs, or crushed herbs, creating treatments that wouldn't feel out of place in today's luxury spas. But beauty came at a price. Some of the most common cosmetics were made from toxic materials. White lead and cinnabar, used for pale foundation and red lips respectively, slowly poisoned the skin and the body. Yet Roman women continued to use them, because the image they projected was more important than the unseen damage beneath. Hair care was an entire ritual in itself. Blonde hair was particularly prized, as it was associated with youth and exotic beauty. Women would dye their hair with saffron or even imported powders from Germany. Others wore wigs made of blonde hair taken from captured slaves. Hair was curled, braided, twisted, and pinned into elaborate styles using bronze combs and ornate pins. Fragrance played a central role in the Roman beauty empire. Scents weren't just for seduction, they were a mark of refinement. Women wore pomania, small perfumed balls, tucked into their dresses. They bathed in rose water and lavender infusions. Their clothes, their hair, even the walls of their villas were scented. The smell of a Roman woman lingered long after she left a room. Even bathing was an aesthetic ritual. Public bathhouses served not just as places to cleanse the body, but to socialize, gossip, and display one's status. There, women would be massaged with oils, scraped with strigils, steamed in hot rooms, and soaked in floral baths. Afterward, their attendants would dry, oil, and perfume them from head to toe. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of Roman beauty is how intertwined it was with social power. A woman's appearance reflected her husband's wealth. Her cosmetics were part of her dowry. Her ability to charm, attract, and impress was seen as an extension of her family's influence. Even the goddess Venus, the divine symbol of beauty, was more than a pretty face. She was a force of persuasion and desire, invoked by women in prayers and painted on their walls. As we explore these beauty secrets, remember, Roman women weren't passive participants in their society. They were clever, strategic, and highly aware of how to use their appearance to shape their destiny. Their rituals were rooted in self-control, discipline, and a sophisticated understanding of aesthetics. In the chapters ahead, we'll uncover specific recipes, tools, and daily routines. But for now, understand this: ancient Roman beauty was not a luxury, it was a lifestyle. One that fused ritual, religion, politics, and power into the female body. A body sculpted not by genetics, but by intention. Welcome to Ancient Roman Beauty Secrets. You won't believe what they used. The allure of Roman beauty. In a world long before contour kits and serums, beauty thrived in the marble halls and bustling villas of ancient Rome. Here, amidst towering columns and echoing atriums, Roman women, noble and common alike, pursued a vision of beauty that was both luxurious and symbolic. Their routines weren't merely about looking attractive. They were expressions of power, status, and identity. Unlike today's fleeting TikTok trends or Instagram-ready filters, Roman beauty was steeped in ritual, tradition, and a surprising degree of science. The Roman Empire's reach extended across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, absorbing and reshaping customs from the Greeks, Egyptians, and Persians. This melting pot of influences gave Roman beauty a complexity rarely acknowledged in modern retellings. To understand Roman women's beauty secrets is to understand their world. A world of conquest and culture, art and architecture, politics and personal grooming. From their use of crushed pearls as skin whitener to elaborate hairstyles crafted with pins and false tresses, Roman women left behind more than statues and mosaics. They left a legacy of beauty rituals that continue to inspire even today. With ingredients sourced from their gardens or far-flung provinces, like rose petals from Syria or saffron from Spain, their cosmetic cabinets mirrored the empire's expanse. This documentary will peel back the layers of history to explore not only what these women used but why. What did it mean to be beautiful in Rome? What daily rituals preserved that beauty? How did politics, class, and belief shape their grooming practices? Prepare to be surprised, intrigued, and maybe even a little horrified as we uncover the real beauty secrets of ancient Roman women. These are not simply tales of olive oil and honey, they are windows into the soul of a civilization. The Roman ideal of beauty. To truly grasp the allure of Roman beauty secrets, we must begin with their ideal of perfection. Roman women were not chasing fleeting trends. They pursued a timeless elegance rooted in symmetry, purity, and class. The perfect Roman woman was pale as moonlight, slim with a delicately curved waist, and adorned in subtle refinement. Her appearance was a direct reflection of her wealth, her virtue, and her ability to command admiration. The elite class, in particular, viewed physical beauty as a symbol of inner discipline and moral superiority. A flawless face was not only attractive, it was a political tool, used to secure alliances, elevate family status, and assert dominance in public life. A pale complexion was the most desirable trait. Unlike modern bronzed ideals, fair skin in ancient Rome signified luxury. It meant a woman was not exposed to labor or the sun. Wealthy women often avoided sunlight at all costs, walking under parasols or staying indoors during the hottest hours. They used elaborate whitening creams made with lead or chalk, and some even applied powdered pearls, ground to fine dust, to shimmer in candlelight. Hairstyles also played a powerful role in the Roman beauty identity. From intricate braids coiled like serpents around the crown, to golden pins and beaded nets, a woman's hair was an art form. Blonde was prized, especially when achieved with imported wigs made from the hair of Germanic slaves, a direct display of power over conquered lands. Beyond the physical traits, behavior and poise were essential. The ideal Roman beauty was composed, modest, and graceful. Her beauty was never brash. Her movements were refined. She spoke softly and dressed in flowing fabrics like the stola and palla, often dyed in soft pastels and embroidered with gold thread. In essence, Roman beauty wasn't just how a woman looked, it was how she existed. Her scent, her voice, the shimmer of her earrings, even the way she sat, all worked in harmony to project elegance. A single glance from such a woman could stop a room. She was beauty, engineered by empire. The role of cosmetics in Roman society. In the world of ancient Rome, cosmetics were not simply a matter of vanity or luxury. They were woven deeply into the fabric of society, an essential component of a Roman woman's identity, reputation, and daily routine. Beauty, in the Roman mindset, was both a gift and a responsibility. To neglect one's appearance was to neglect one's role in society, and cosmetics offered a means to express refinement, virtue, and even social status. From the bustling markets of the Roman Forum to the grand villas overlooking the Tiber, Roman women of all classes embraced cosmetics in some form. These beauty rituals weren't just about enhancing features, they were loaded with meaning. To wear makeup well was to show taste, elegance, and discipline. Excess, however, could signal vanity or even moral looseness, a tension that played out in literature and society. One of the most popular products was face whitening powder. Since pale skin was associated with nobility and indoor living, away from the toils of manual labor, women went to great lengths to lighten their faces. Powders were made using a range of materials, from white lead and chalk to tin ash. Though dangerous by modern standards, these powders were applied liberally, often multiple times a day. Rouge for the cheeks and lips was another essential item. Made from red ochre, cinnabar, or even crushed mulberries, it gave the illusion of youth and vitality. Paired with a powdered face, these dashes of color brought balance and a theatrical element to the look. Meanwhile, kohl eyeliner was used to darken the lash lines and brows, offering both definition and a belief in its protective qualities against eye diseases and the evil eye. Perfumes were equally prized. Roman women wore fragrant oils on their necks, wrists, and even hair. Some carried scented sachets within their clothing, and perfumes were often stored in intricately carved glass bottles, which were displayed as much for their artistic value as their contents. However, cosmetics were not without criticism. Roman poets like Juvenal and Ovid often poked fun at women who overapplied makeup or relied too heavily on it to charm lovers. Still, these voices didn't dissuade the majority of Roman women, who saw cosmetics as a way to engage with societal ideals and attract attention within a competitive world of courtship and marriage. Even men were not exempt. Some elite Roman men used light powders or perfumes, though their participation was usually more subdued. Overall, cosmetics in ancient Rome served as a powerful tool of self-expression, societal performance, and cultural identity. They reflected both personal desire and collective expectation, proving that in ancient Rome, beauty was as much a public matter as a private one. The alchemy of beauty, ingredients in Roman rituals. In the elegant courtyards and shaded atriums of Roman villas, beauty was not merely a luxury, it was an alchemical art. Roman women, particularly those of the aristocracy, transformed common ingredients into instruments of allure, power, and ritual. Long before modern skincare labs existed, Roman women were blending natural elements into potent cosmetic formulas, guided by inherited wisdom, Greek texts, and whispers from Egyptian beauty lore. Honey, prized for its sweetness, was more than a treat. It was sacred, a divine gift from the gods, and an essential in every Roman woman's beauty cabinet. They used it in face masks for its antibacterial properties, smoothing it over skin before rinsing with rosewater. Mixed with goat's milk and a pinch of ground barley, it formed a softening cleanser that even slaves swore by. And when combined with beeswax, it created a balm for dry lips and wind-worn cheeks, a Roman version of lip gloss. Olive oil, the golden elixir of the Mediterranean, wasn't just for cooking. Pressed from sacred groves, this oil was used to moisturize the skin, condition the hair, and even serve as a gentle makeup remover. Women warmed it with crushed laurel leaves or rosemary, massaging it into their faces and décolletage after a hot bath. It was both nourishment and protection, guarding the skin from the sun, dust, and time itself. Milk, especially from donkeys, held legendary status. The famous Egyptian Queen Cleopatra, who heavily influenced Roman beauty ideals, was said to bathe in it daily. Roman noblewomen mimicked her rituals, soaking in warm milk infused with lavender or violet petals. The lactic acid acted as a gentle exfoliant, softening the skin while giving it a luminous sheen. To bathe in milk was not only indulgent, it was royal. Almond oil was another essential. Extracted through labor-intensive grinding, it was favored for its fragrance and light texture. Roman women rubbed it into their temples and hairlines, believing it calmed the mind and enhanced natural glow. Mixed with powdered rose petals and honey, it became a luxurious night mask. One of the more peculiar ingredients was lead, which, despite its danger, was widely used. Women applied white lead paste, called cerussa, to lighten their skin, a beauty standard that symbolized wealth, as paleness indicated a life away from outdoor labor. Unaware of its toxicity, women bore the painful price of this powder, experiencing skin corrosion, scarring, and in extreme cases illness. Still, the pursuit of ideal beauty triumphed over personal safety. For natural rouge, Roman women used red ochre, a pigment made from iron-rich clay. When ground into powder and mixed with wine or animal fat, it created a long-lasting blush for cheeks and lips. Other tints came from crushed mulberries, cinnabar, or even sheep's blood, dabbed on discreetly during festival days for added color. Eyes were perhaps the most expressive feature, and the Roman woman's gaze was not left bare. Kohl, a dark pigment imported from the East, was used to outline eyes much like modern eyeliner. A fine metal stick or carved bone applicator was dipped into the powder and dragged carefully along the lid's edge. This practice not only enhanced the eye's shape but also protected against eye infections, or so it was believed. Scent also played a major role. Roman perfumers were highly respected artisans, blending rosewater, cinnamon oil, iris root, and myrrh into personalized fragrances. These were stored in glass flasks and dabbed behind the ears, between the breasts, and on the wrists. The aroma was as much a status symbol as gold jewelry. Teeth were cleaned with powdered charcoal or crushed bone, mixed with mint or dried sage. Though effective in removing buildup, these abrasives often damaged enamel. Women prized sweet breath, however, so sacrifices were made. Chewing coriander seeds or rinsing with vinegar infusions became common habits. Hair treatments were equally inventive. Dull or damaged hair was revived using egg whites, vinegar rinses, and herbal oils. Blondes were especially admired, so women bleached their hair with a mixture of goat fat and ashes, then sat in the sun wrapped in cloths to process the color. The bravest even wore wigs imported from the Germanic tribes, known for their pale hair. For unwanted body hair, women used resin-based waxes, scraping tools, and even a mix of arsenic and quicklime, a highly dangerous depilatory cream. This, too, was seen as worth the risk in pursuit of smooth, youthful skin. And then there were the rituals. Every application, every layer, every blend was not random. It followed a rhythm, passed down from mother to daughter, slave to mistress. Women applied their potions slowly, often with chants or prayers. They prepared for social events like battles, adorning themselves not just with color but with power. In these beauty routines, we don't merely see vanity. We see survival. In a male-dominated world, appearance could be a woman's strongest tool, to marry, to rise, to influence. And these ingredients, drawn from gardens, animals, seas, and stones, were her weapons. Popular Roman beauty techniques, the art of transformation. In ancient Rome, beauty was more than appearance. It was a strategy, a declaration of power, and a ritual deeply embedded into daily life. Roman women, especially those of higher classes, weren't simply passive consumers of cosmetics. They were artists. They applied, crafted, tweaked, and layered with an almost religious dedication, transforming themselves daily into icons of status and femininity. Let us step into the candlelit chambers of a Roman matron's private quarters. A polished bronze mirror leans against a carved ivory table. A servant stands beside her mistress, preparing the morning ritual. This wasn't just about powder and paint, it was a full-body performance. Every step, every movement, was rooted in centuries of tradition, observation, and self-preservation. Face, canvas of nobility. The Roman face was considered the focal point of beauty, and it began with the skin. Pale, luminous skin was prized, not only because it signified wealth, only poor women worked under the sun, but because it was believed to reflect moral purity. Achieving this look required layers of preparation. Women applied sarasa, the infamous white lead-based paste, as a base. Though toxic, it gave the illusion of perfect skin. Some replaced this with chalk powder or ground white marble dust mixed with rose water for a softer, safer version. Next came the cheeks, delicately flushed with natural rouge made from red ochre, crushed roses, or cinnabar, mercury sulfide. Lip color often matched the cheek tint, applied using a bone or wood stick. The most daring added a touch of honey to keep their lips shiny and sweet. But the real drama began with the eyes. Roman women valued dramatic eyes. Kohl eyeliner, a smoky black powder imported from Egypt, was used to define both upper and lower lids. Shadows were created using burnt almonds, charcoal, or ground malachite, green. Eyelashes were often darkened with soot mixed into animal fat, creating an intense, sultry gaze. Eyebrows were shaped with tweezers, often arched high. Some women even painted them on, using charcoal or plant-based inks to give them a perfect, symmetrical look. Beauty spots, often considered seductive, were drawn deliberately with black pigment, especially if one was naturally freckle-free. Hair, a crown of innovation. Hair care was perhaps the most elaborate part of a Roman woman's beauty ritual. Hairstyles weren't simply about appearance. They were statements of fashion, class, and even political allegiance. Women used olive oil, egg yolk, and vinegar rinses to maintain soft, shiny hair. Blondes were particularly favored, and dark-haired women often bleached their hair with a mixture of ashes and goat fat, sitting in the sun with their heads wrapped in cloth to process the lightning. For those unwilling to bleach, wigs became the solution. Hairpieces were crafted from Germanic or Gallic women's hair, prized for its pale golden tone. Wigs were styled into towering braids, ringlets, and coiled crowns. Roman hairstylists, often slaves or freed women, were highly skilled and could create complex designs that took hours to complete. Styles were constantly changing. Empresses set the trends. Livia favored the simple bun, while Messalina embraced flamboyant curls. Hairpins of gold, ivory, or bronze were used both functionally and decoratively. Sometimes they were shaped like serpents or flowers, adding mystery to the coiffure. Skin and body, ritual beyond the face. Roman women understood that beauty didn't stop at the jawline. The skin of the neck, shoulders, arms, and hands received just as much care and attention. Body scrubs were common among elite women, using ingredients like pumice stone, crushed seashells, or salt, blended with olive oil to exfoliate and soften. After bathing, often in warm water steeped with bay leaves, rose petals, or lavender, the skin was massaged with a mixture of almond oil, honey, and wine. These concoctions not only made the skin supple and fragrant but were also believed to delay aging and protect from bad air. Women applied lotions infused with myrrh, iris root, or saffron. These weren't simply for fragrance. Myrrh was believed to tighten the skin, saffron offered a golden glow, and iris root was said to reduce blemishes. The entire body became a living sculpture, fragrant, soft, glowing under the dim light of oil lamps. And while soap was not widely used, many Roman women opted for striduling, a Greco-Roman method of scraping dirt and oil from the body using a curved metal tool. It was typically done after oil application in public or private baths and symbolized both cleanliness and status. Hair removal, the pursuit of smoothness. Body hair was seen as unsightly and unfeminine. Roman women used a variety of methods to remove it. Tweezers, called valselli, were used for plucking facial and underarm hair. More extensive hair removal was done using homemade pastes of resin, sugar, and honey, an early form of waxing. Some even used harsh chemical depilatories made of arsenic, quicklime, and vinegar, applied cautiously to avoid burning the skin. These mixtures were risky, but smooth skin was deemed worth the discomfort, especially for women preparing to attend a banquet or festival. Perfume and fragrance, the invisible jewel. Perhaps one of the most seductive tools in a Roman woman's beauty arsenal was scent. Perfume was a symbol of status, refinement, and even political messaging. Women anointed themselves with oils and balms stored in ornate glass flasks. The ingredients included rose, myrtle, cinnamon, spikenard, balsam, and civet. Perfumes were not sprayed but dabbed behind the ears, on the inner wrists, between the breasts, and at the back of the knees. Perfumed gloves and shawls were also worn, and special pouches filled with dried lavender, mint, or chamomile were hidden in their robes. Some women even had personal signature scents, crafted by apothecaries in the markets of Rome. Wealthy women would gift small scent bottles to lovers, friends, or political allies. Fragrance became a currency of influence and seduction. Accessories and symbolic enhancements. Roman beauty extended into the symbolic. Amulets, bracelets, and necklaces often contained small charms believed to ward off aging or enhance desirability. Stones like garnet, amber, and lapis lazuli were worn not just for beauty, but for their supposed metaphysical effects. Mirrors were made of polished bronze or silver. Though they distorted reflections slightly, women became adept at interpreting their images. Painted busts or wax figurines of idealized Roman women decorated vanities, acting as inspiration during daily grooming. Beauty in this context wasn't superficial, it was a daily rite of power. Whether she was preparing to host guests, appear in public, or simply assert dominance over her household, a Roman woman performed her beauty ritual with purpose. The legacy of Roman beauty. Beauty, as practiced by Roman women, was far more than an art. It was a form of cultural power, religious symbolism, and social identity. While many of their routines seem distant to modern standards, their influence can still be traced through centuries of evolving beauty rituals across Europe and beyond. The rise of the Roman beauty ideal. As Rome expanded across continents, absorbing Egypt, Greece, Gaul, Britannia, and Carthage, it also absorbed their beauty philosophies. But over time, Rome developed its own image of the ideal woman. She was fair-skinned, modest yet alluring, aromatic, and disciplined in personal grooming. Being beautiful wasn't just about seduction. It reflected virtue, class, and the divine harmony of nature. Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, was often invoked during personal grooming rituals. Many women kept small household altars to Venus or Minerva in their bathing chambers, praying for clear skin or the grace of movement. These ideals became woven into Roman identity, appearing on coins, statues, mosaics, and frescoes. Images of graceful women, with flowing hair, intricate jewelry, and serene expressions, adorned temples and villas. In literature, poets like Ovid wrote beauty manuals disguised as love poetry, advising women on everything from eyebrow shapes to breath freshening with aniseed. The Roman beauty ritual was not trivial. It was a spiritual and civic duty to maintain an elegant appearance, one that upheld the honor of a husband, the status of a family, and the pride of a Roman citizen. The empire's influence on beauty across Europe. After the fall of Rome in the 5th century CE, many of its practices were scattered across the former empire. But the influence of Roman beauty standards lingered, particularly among elite women of the Byzantine Empire, medieval Italy, and even the Islamic Golden Age. Roman grooming tools like bronze mirrors, hairpins, and perfume bottles were passed down through generations. The cosmetic recipes, lotions with almond oil, exfoliants with salt, lip tints made of red ochre, were copied into medieval herbals and apothecary texts. In Renaissance Europe, noble women's obsession with pale skin, golden hair, and subtle perfumes echoed directly from Rome's influence. The use of lead-based white makeup, initially practiced in Imperial Rome, continued until the Elizabethan age, and even beyond. Many of the rituals we now associate with European queens and noble women originated in the private bathing chambers of Roman matrons. Aesthetic legacy in art and sculpture. The art of the Roman world captured not only military conquests and political power, but also beauty. Portrait busts of women displayed intricate hairstyles, embroidered tunics, elegant posture, and youthful symmetry. These sculptures weren't merely artistic. They served as idealized representations of virtue, wealth, and femininity. Artists during the Renaissance would later study these busts and copy their proportions and expressions. The famous Roman nose, arched eyebrows, and wavy hair reappeared in paintings of aristocrats and biblical figures alike. Roman frescoes also influenced European interior aesthetics. Wall paintings of women bathing, grooming, or dancing with scented garlands became templates for later palace decor in France, Italy, and Austria. Enduring techniques and natural remedies. The simplicity and effectiveness of Roman beauty techniques ensured their survival into folk practices. Many rural communities across Europe continued using Roman-style remedies. Olive oil and honey face masks remain common in Mediterranean households. Pumice stone exfoliation is still used in Greek and Italian spa treatments. Lavender and rosewater tonics, once reserved for Roman noblewomen, now appear in skincare aisles globally. Even modern beauty brands market ancient Roman secrets, capitalizing on the idea that true beauty is timeless and rooted in nature, reclaiming forgotten history. For centuries, historians minimized or dismissed the contributions of women in ancient societies. Roman women were often portrayed only as wives, mothers, or background figures to emperors. But recent scholarship and archaeology have brought their lives into sharper focus. Unearthed cosmetic tools, personal hygiene kits, and scented jewelry from women's tombs reveal a complex and deeply personal aspect of Roman life. These discoveries tell us that beauty was not shallow, it was ritual, resistance, and refinement. Roman women weren't passive recipients of beauty standards. They were creators, chemists, and strategists, crafting not only their appearances but their social power. In today's feminist reinterpretation of history, Roman beauty practices are no longer just curiosities. They are seen as acts of agency, self-expression, and resilience. From Rome to the runway. Even in fashion and runway trends, the Roman aesthetic makes a comeback time and again. Togas and stolas inspire modern minimalist dresses. Laurel wreaths appear on couture headpieces. Sculptural makeup mimics the natural tones of earth and clay, recalling the grounded elegance of ancient Roman women. Hollywood films, fashion editorials, and even skincare marketing borrow heavily from this rich history. Whether it's a gown inspired by a Roman Vestal Virgin, or a cream claiming ancient Roman origins, we still walk in the aesthetic shadow of a civilization that ended 1,500 years ago. Ancient Roman beauty tools and rituals. In the bustling heart of ancient Rome, amidst the chatter of markets and the scent of crushed herbs and apothecaries, beauty was more than just a matter of appearance. It was a sacred routine, a carefully preserved ritual involving tools, materials, and techniques passed down through generations of Roman women. While the Roman elite boasted wealth and fashion, even working-class women found ways to adapt beauty routines to suit their means. The tools they used, some simple, some lavish, were mirrors into the values, technologies, and resourcefulness of Roman society. The Roman vanity table, a sacred corner. In wealthy Roman households, women had a designated space for grooming and self-beautification. This vanity wasn't just a place of preparation, it was a miniature altar of elegance. Bronze or silver mirrors, often polished to perfection, sat beside containers made of alabaster, ceramic, or glass, each holding pastes, powders, and perfumes. Boxes carved from ivory or etched with family emblems held hairpins, jewelry, and charms. Inscriptions on these beauty boxes sometimes contained prayers to Venus or Aphrodite, asking for allure, health, or enduring love. Just like Roman temples, these grooming spaces had ritualistic importance. They symbolized purity, femininity, and control, the tools of transformation. Roman beauty tools ranged from practical to opulent. Even the most essential items had symbolic and aesthetic meaning. Tweezers, valselli used for plucking facial hair, often made from bronze or iron, and carried in personal grooming kits. Cosmetic spoons and spatulas, thin, flat instruments used to mix pigments or apply creams. Wealthy women might have theirs in silver, while commoners used bone or wood versions. Strigils, curved scrapers originally from Greek tradition. After applying oil, the skin was scraped clean with a strigil to remove sweat and dirt. It was an essential part of bathhouse culture. Perfume flasks, unguentaria, beautiful glass vessels sealed with wax or cork, holding precious drops of rose oil, saffron elixirs, or musk. These bottles were often buried with their owners. Powder puffs and pigment applicators, made from soft wool or rabbit fur, These were used to pat white lead or red ochre onto the face. Hairstylers, including bone combs, curling rods heated over coals, and decorative pins carved from jet, gold, or ivory. These tools were not disposable. They were treasured possessions handed down like heirlooms. Their durability speaks to the permanence Romans attributed to beauty. Hair, a symbol of status and style. Hair in ancient Rome was considered a crown of identity. A woman's hairstyle could reveal her marital status, wealth, region, and even political leanings. Young girls wore their hair loose or in simple braids. Married women adopted more complex styles. Buns wrapped in gold thread, layered braids pinned into artistic arrangements, or intricate curls sculpted with iron rods. Some hairstyles mimicked those of empresses or mythological goddesses, showing loyalty to power and divine beauty. Wigs were popular among elite women, often made from imported blonde hair from Gaul or black hair from Egypt. These wigs were perfumed with resins and oils and worn proudly during festivals and ceremonies. Roman hairpins weren't just functional, they were jewelry in themselves, adorned with pearls, miniature carvings, or gemstones. Women kept hairdressing slaves, known as ornatrices, who were trained in both artistry and discretion. A well-styled Roman woman didn't just impress, she declared status. Daily rituals, a layered process. A Roman beauty ritual was multi-phased and often lasted several hours for noble women. Cleansing, a mix of warm water and vinegar was dabbed onto the skin. Occasionally, a milk bath or a honey-based wash was used. Exfoliation, pumice stones were used on rough areas, especially elbows and feet. Olive oil might be massaged in before using a strigil. Moisturizing, almond oil, beeswax blends, or myrtle lotions were applied. These kept the skin soft under Rome's dry climate. Complexion lightening, pale skin was the mark of high status. Women used white lead paste, cerussa, chalk powder, or crushed pearls to lighten their face and neck. Color application. Red ochre or cinnabar was used for cheeks and lips. Charcoal or antimony coal was applied to darken the eyebrows and eyelids. A light blush or highlighter was added with rose petals or saffron paste. Scenting. Perfume oils were massaged into pulse points, and garments were spritzed with rose water. Women might carry small pomanders tucked into sleeves. This wasn't just for events. Noble women followed this ritual even on quiet days, as grooming was seen as an expression of discipline, elegance, and divine favor. Baths and beautification, social and sacred. Public baths played a central role in Roman hygiene and beauty. But beyond cleanliness, they were centers of gossip, matchmaking, and beauty exchange. Before entering, women applied oil. Inside the caldarium, hot bath, they opened their pores. In the tepidarium, warm bath, they relaxed muscles. Afterward, they cooled in the frigidarium and reapplied perfumes and oils. Baths often featured attached salons for massages, hair treatments, and even teeth whitening, done with burnt animal bones and vinegar. Beautification was not only self-care, it was public performance, especially for the elite. Ancient Roman perfumes and aromas. In ancient Rome, scent was more than a luxury, it was a symbol of status, refinement, and even divine favor. Roman women, and many elite men, believed that a fragrant body was as important as a beautiful face or well-groomed hair. In fact, scent had power, it could attract, influence, and even protect. Perfume or unguentum was not just worn, it was layered, curated, and carefully applied. Let us dive deep into the aromatic world of Roman beauty, where fragrances shaped identity, and the air around a woman could speak volumes before she ever uttered a word. The cultural role of scent. Romans inherited the art of perfumery from earlier civilizations like the Egyptians, Greeks, and Persians, but they elevated it into something truly grand. In Roman culture, to smell good was to be civilized, and to go without perfume was seen as poor manners or even neglectful. Fragrance was tied closely to the gods. Altars and temples were rich with burnt incense, and many perfumes were first made for religious purposes before they entered daily grooming routines. It was said that Venus herself smelled of myrrh and roses, and Roman women tried to emulate her divine allure. Even political figures used scent to shape public perception. Emperors and empresses had custom perfume blends. Nero once hosted a banquet where perfumed petals rained from the ceiling, and the walls were sprayed with floral mist. Ingredients of Roman perfume. Creating perfume in Rome was a meticulous craft. It began with oils, often from olive, almond, or sesame, used as carriers. To these oils, natural aromatics were added through maceration or distillation. Here are the most prized ingredients in Roman perfumes. Rose petals, the symbol of love, used in countless formulations. Myrrh and frankincense, imported resins, sacred and musky. Cinnamon and cassia, warm, spicy undertones. Iris root, orris, for a powdery, refined base. Nard, spikenard, a rare oil from the Himalayas, extremely expensive. Violet and lily, fresh, feminine top notes. Mastic, labdanum, and styrax, earthy and resinous, used for depth. The final result was often stored in small glass or ceramic unguentaria, sealed with cork or wax. These bottles were prized possessions, some even buried with their owners. Rituals of scented application. Applying perfume was a ritual, not a random spray. Roman women used it in multiple layers. Oil after bathing. While skin was still warm, scented oils were applied to the shoulders, neck, and breasts. Perfumed garments, tunics and stolas were sometimes soaked in rosewater, or lavender sachets were sewn into hems. Hair and wigs, oils were gently rubbed into the scalp or into human hair wigs imported from abroad. Jewelry-infused scent, rings or pendants often had compartments filled with scented paste. Pomanders or scent balls. Women carried small ornate containers filled with herbs and oils to sniff throughout the day. This layering meant that a woman left a trail of her identity behind her, a scented shadow that followed her through marble halls and into memory. The scent industry in Rome. Perfume wasn't made in back rooms. It was a booming business. The Roman city of Capua became the perfume capital, home to countless workshops, officinae. Perfumers, unguentarii, were respected tradespeople, and elite households sometimes had their own personal perfumers. Market stalls sold everything from budget perfumes to elite blends imported from the East. Some perfumes were so expensive that they were locked in jewelry boxes and guarded by slaves. The wealthy elite even used perfumes in furniture polish, wine additives, and wall paintings, yes, scented murals. Scent as identity. For Roman women, wearing perfume wasn't just about attraction. It was a statement. A woman's choice of scent said something about her character, class, and culture. A young maiden might wear light violet or iris-based perfume to show innocence. A matrona, a married noblewoman, would choose rose or myrrh to symbolize maturity and elegance. A courtesan might wear bold spices or musk to highlight allure. Roman literature frequently describes characters by their smell. In love poetry, a woman's scent was as central as her eyes or lips. To be remembered by scent was to be unforgettable. Roman men and perfume. Though perfume was seen as a feminine art, many Roman men embraced scent, especially emperors. Julius Caesar and Caligula were known to wear rose and cinnamon oils. Roman soldiers were even known to carry small flasks of perfume into battle, believing the scent brought good luck or calm under stress. Perfume also served in religious and funerary rites, used to anoint the dead or purify homes. It was deeply entwined with life, love, and memory. The decline of perfume with Rome. As the Roman Empire crumbled, so did its perfumed grandeur. Trade routes collapsed, and many exotic ingredients became unavailable. Christian influence viewed perfume with suspicion, associating it with vanity or pagan rituals. But the knowledge never fully disappeared. It passed into Byzantine and Islamic cultures, then re-emerged in Renaissance perfumery. Rome's aromatic legacy lives on. Today, essential oils, artisan perfume houses, and natural skincare trends all echo the rituals born in the candlelit chambers of Roman noblewomen. Hair and wigs, the crown of Roman beauty. When it came to beauty and self-expression, no aspect of appearance held more symbolic weight in ancient Rome than a woman's hair. It was her crown, her identity, her power. Roman women didn't just style their hair, they sculpted it, with ambition, creativity, and often, imported help. From complex braids to towering wigs, the Roman ideal of beauty evolved through the centuries. Hairstyles weren't merely trends, they were declarations of social class, marital status, and political allegiance. Hair in Roman society, more than vanity. In early Republican Rome, modesty and simplicity were virtues. A respectable Roman matron would wear her hair tied in a bun or braided simply, held in place by ribbons or combs. But by the height of the empire, fashion exploded into elaborate art. Hair was curled, dyed, patted, and piled high. Hairstyles became so important that poets, politicians, and even emperors commented on them. The way a woman wore her hair could signal rebellion, loyalty, or even flirtation. Some styles were regional. Others were copied directly from imperial portraits, emulated by women across the empire. The rise of the hairdresser. By the 1st century CE, wealthy Roman women had personal hairdressers known as ornatrices. These women were more than stylists, they were confidants, spies, and artists. They used heated bronze curling tongs, bone or ivory combs, wool or horsehair padding, hairpins made of gold, silver, or polished wood. Some women even slept upright to protect their elaborate styles. And yes, it hurt. Roman satirist Martial wrote sarcastically about women screaming as their stylists tortured their scalps in the name of beauty. The iconic Flavian hairstyle. One of the most iconic styles in Roman history was popularized by the Flavian dynasty, late 1st century CE. This look featured towering curls piled above the forehead, resembling a crown of tightly coiled ringlets. Achieving this required false hair, often made from the cut locks of Germanic slaves. The curls were pinned over a cage-like structure or stuffed with padding. The back of the hair might be braided or coiled, then pinned at the nape. This towering structure was not just stylish, it was a display of wealth and status. The taller the curls, the higher the rank. Hair color and dyes. Romans were fascinated by hair color. Blonde hair, considered exotic, was highly prized and associated with northern tribes, especially Germanic and Gallic women. Roman women often wore wigs made of blonde hair or lightened their own using natural bleaches like wood ash and goat fat. Hair colors included blonde, associated with youth, beauty, and exotic allure. Black, traditional, elegant, and considered noble. Red/auburn, rare and admired for its fiery beauty. Green or blue, worn by entertainers or prostitutes, often dyed using dangerous minerals. Wigs weren't hidden. They were worn proudly and publicly, crafted to match the height of fashion. Wigs, a statement of power and practicality. Roman wigs, capillamenta or gallery, served more than vanity. They were practical, allowing women to avoid long hours of styling. Some had separate wigs for different occasions. One for daily life, another for banquets, and one reserved for temple visits or ceremonies. Wigs could be frontal pieces, to replace bangs or front curls. Full wigs, often styled in elaborate coils or braids. Hair falls, extensions tied to the back or sides. Elite women imported wigs from Egypt, Syria, and Germania. A single wig could cost as much as a small villa. Even Roman men wore wigs occasionally, especially those covering bald spots or used in theatrical performances. Hair accessories and symbolism. Roman hair wasn't complete without adornment. Common accessories included hairpins, achis crinalis, used to secure styles and as status symbols. Gold and gemstone combs. Ribbons and fillets woven into braids. Headbands of pearls, emeralds, or ivory. Diadems and wreaths, worn by noble women and priestesses. Hairpins were often engraved with protective symbols or inscriptions. Some even contained hidden blades, used by women for protection or, in dramatic legends, for revenge. The politics of hair. Hairstyles reflected political ideology. During Augustus's reign, women were encouraged to embrace modest, traditional styles, in line with his moral reforms. But under later emperors like Nero and Domitian, styles became increasingly extravagant, a mirror to the decadence of the court. The empresses were style icons. Livia's tight bun and veil became the republican ideal, while Messalina and Poppaea were infamous for their provocative hair and lavish jewelry. Women who supported the reigning empress would mimic her look. Hairstyle became an unspoken form of political allegiance. Hair in Roman art and statues. One of the most enduring sources of hair fashion comes from marble busts and statues. Sculptors captured elaborate curls and braids with stunning detail. These statues acted like the fashion magazines of ancient Rome, spreading elite styles across provinces. Hair was idealized in sculpture, often more intricate than real life. The Flavian hairstyle, for example, appears taller in marble than was likely practical to wear daily. Even in death, hair was important. Mummies in Roman Egypt often wore wigs, and grave markers show women with carefully styled hair to reflect their societal role. Hair and female identity. For Roman women, hair was deeply personal. Young girls wore loose hair until marriage, when it was bound in ritual. Widows would let their hair fall unadorned as a sign of mourning. Vestal virgins, priestesses of Vesta, wore simple braids and were forbidden from shaving or dyeing their hair. Hair was a woman's visual language. To touch it without permission was an insult. To cut it was a punishment, or a sacrifice to the gods. Through hair, Roman women told the world who they were, their lineage, their loyalty, and their power. Scent of empire, perfumes and fragrance in Roman beauty culture. In the Roman Empire, beauty wasn't only seen, it was smelled. Fragrance played a powerful role in how Roman women shaped their identity, seduced admirers, and conveyed status. Scents drifted through marble corridors and bathhouses, temples and banquets, marking the presence of a powerful woman long after she had passed. Perfume was not just about allure. It was a declaration of elegance, refinement, and even morality. The Roman nose was trained to detect subtle blends of flowers, herbs, and exotic spices. And Roman women made sure that scent became an extension of their persona, a soft but persuasive weapon in the social game. Perfume in Roman society, a cultural necessity. Perfume, or unguentum, wasn't a luxury for the elite alone. Though the finest oils came from Alexandria, India, and Arabia, even middle-class Roman women found ways to perfume their skin and garments with local herbs and oils. From everyday rituals to religious ceremonies, scent surrounded Roman life. The Roman philosopher Pliny the Elder noted that some women spent more on perfume than on property. That wasn't an exaggeration. Imported oils from Arabia, India, and Nubia were priced higher than gold by weight. Perfume wasn't merely cosmetic, it was cultural currency, signaling wealth, sensuality, and civility. The art of perfume making. Rome inherited much of its perfumery knowledge from Egypt and Greece. Skilled perfumers were part alchemist, part artist. They combined ingredients like myrrh, frankincense, cinnamon bark, spikenard, saffron, roses, violets, and lilies. These were ground into paste, infused into oils, often olive oil or almond oil, and aged in ceramic or glass vessels. Aging was critical. Some perfumes matured for months or even years before reaching their final aromatic strength. Perfumers often had secret family recipes passed down for generations. Their workshops, unguentarii, lined the streets near Roman marketplaces, with decorative jars displayed like treasures. Scent as seduction. Scent was integral to seduction in ancient Rome. Roman poets like Ovid and Catullus wrote vivid verses about the perfume trails left behind by women who passed by. Lovers left fragrance on love letters, garments, and even pets. Women perfumed everything. Their hair with rose water. Their skin with spikenard oil. Their clothes with saffron smoke. Their bed linens with musk and cinnamon. Even jewelry and fans were scented. Some women wore small pouches of fragrant herbs, scent sachets, around their neck or waist, a romantic charm and olfactory shield from city smells. Perfume in ritual and religion. Roman women also used fragrance in spiritual ways. Incense and scented oils were vital in household rituals and temple offerings. Goddesses like Venus, Flora, and Juno were honored with flower-scented oils and perfumed wine. Vestal virgins were anointed with specific blends reserved for priestesses. Brides were bathed in fragrant oils before wedding ceremonies. And at funerals, the dead were embalmed with costly perfumes, a scent to carry them into the afterlife. A woman's personal perfume, in a sense, became part of her soul. Beauty tools of the scented elite. Perfume wasn't just about liquid, it was about the ritual of application. Women used glass and alabaster perfume bottles, unguentaria, scented oil spoons, bronze spritzers, stone bowls for mixing paste. These containers were often gifts of love or status, engraved with initials, poems, or symbols. One famous find in Pompeii was a gold perfume bottle with the inscription, "May you remember me with every breath." Perfume was art. And art in Rome was eternal. The dark side, poisonous and addictive scents. Not all perfumes were safe. Some women, seeking rare aromas, used toxic ingredients like lead-infused oils or arsenic vapor. Others combined multiple oils until their skin developed rashes or ulcers. It was even rumored that certain noble women wore perfumes infused with aphrodisiacs, or poisons, to influence political allies or eliminate rivals. Pliny the Elder warned about scented death in his natural history works, though it's unclear how literal he meant it. Still, the idea of perfume as both seduction and danger remained part of Roman mythology. Fragrance and power, imperial scent icons. Empresses were known by their scent. Poppaea Sabina, wife of Nero, reportedly bathed in donkey milk scented with cinnamon and honey. She traveled with a team of perfumers and ordered fresh rose petals scattered before her path in public. Her personal blend, historians speculate, involved crushed myrrh resin, violet flower water, cinnamon bark, charcoal smoked cloves. When Poppaea died, Nero ordered barrels of her perfume to be burned as funeral incense, flooding Rome with the empress's scent one last time. In her footsteps, Julia Domna, wife of Emperor Septimius Severus, also became known for her exotic perfume sourced from Syria. She wore scented arm cuffs, applied perfume to her parchment scrolls, and was said to fill entire rooms with her fragrance alone. The scent legacy, what the Romans left behind. The Roman love for perfume spread through their empire, influencing French and Arab perfumery traditions for centuries. Roman recipes appeared in early medieval manuscripts, and many ingredients they adored, rose, lavender, musk, saffron, are still essential in perfumery today. Their obsession with scented luxury laid the groundwork for modern perfume houses. But more than ingredients, what Roman women truly passed down was the idea of perfume as identity. A fragrance so personal that it lingered in the air, like a memory, long after its wearer was gone. From pumice to perfection, skincare and exfoliation in ancient Rome. In the heart of Roman bathhouses and marble chambers, a quieter revolution was unfolding, the rise of skincare as a ritual. Long before modern serums and spa treatments, Roman women practiced surprisingly sophisticated routines to keep their skin smooth, bright, and blemish-free. Their secret? Not bottled lotions, but earth-based tools, kitchen staples, and time-honored techniques passed from mother to daughter. And while their tools were simple, the care and symbolism behind each gesture were rich with meaning. The Roman obsession with skin. For Roman women, the skin was more than flesh, it was a canvas of social worth. A clear, luminous complexion was seen as a reflection of good character, discipline, and wealth. Tanned or weathered skin, on the other hand, was associated with labor and the lower classes. To preserve pale, soft skin, Roman women stayed indoors or shielded themselves with wide-brimmed hats and parasols. But avoiding the sun wasn't enough. The real work began behind closed doors. Exfoliation with natural tools. The most vital tool in a Roman woman's skincare chest? The humble pumice stone. Pumice, a light volcanic rock, was prized for its rough surface and ability to remove dead skin. Women would dampen the stone and gently rub it across elbows and knees, soles of the feet, dry patches on arms or back, even facial areas with caution. This process was often done during bathhouse visits. In communal settings, women helped each other exfoliate, chatting while smoothing their skin, a blend of grooming and bonding. Skincare recipes from the kitchen. Ancient Roman skincare relied on ingredients still found in pantries today. These included honey, a natural antibacterial and moisturizer. Olive oil, used to soften and cleanse. Milk, especially goat or donkey milk, praised for its brightening properties. Crushed beans or lentils, ground into exfoliating pastes. Wheat bran and barley, added to facial scrubs. One popular recipe was a blend of olive oil, milk, and flour, a DIY face mask applied before sleep. Another used mashed grapes and honey to create a tightening, rejuvenating mask. It wasn't just skincare, it was homemade, ritualistic beauty. Hair removal the Roman way. A smooth body was considered essential for feminine elegance in Rome. Women plucked eyebrows with bronze tweezers, shaped hairlines, and removed body hair using scraping with razors, sugaring, a paste of honey and lemon, rubbing with rough cloth or stones, burnt shells or abrasive powders. Though painful by modern standards, this meticulous grooming was a badge of discipline and luxury. It also carried erotic connotations. Smooth skin was linked with sensuality and beauty. Bathhouses, the skincare salons of Rome. Much of skincare happened at the thermae, public bathhouses that were social hubs for Roman women. After a warm bath, women visited a tepidarium, warm room, or caldarium, hot room, to open pores. They were then massaged with oil, scraped with a strigil, a curved metal tool, and rubbed down with perfumed powder. This wasn't just cleaning, it was a full-body exfoliating ritual, leaving skin glowing and perfumed. Wealthier women had private versions of this routine at home, with servants trained in massage, oil blending, and scraping. The rise of facial masks and spot treatments. Spots, freckles, and blemishes were feared enemies. Women turned to various remedies to cure or hide them. Lettuce juice and vinegar for acne. Chalk powder or white lead for pigmentation. Crushed rose petals and egg whites for tightening masks. Donkey milk compresses to reduce inflammation. Some formulas bordered on alchemy, involving snake fat, sulfur, or burnt wool ash. But many were surprisingly gentle, echoing modern preferences for natural plant-based skincare. The downside, dangerous beauty. Not all Roman skincare was safe. White lead, often used as a whitening foundation, seeped into the bloodstream and caused fatigue, headaches, and organ failure. Mercury-based spot treatments and ammonia cleansers, made from stale urine, could also harm skin long-term. Yet women continued using them, because paleness, flawlessness, and youth were socially and romantically rewarded. The risks were known, but the pressure to conform was stronger. Skincare as status and identity. For Roman women, skincare wasn't only about appearance. It was ritual, identity, and power. A well-kept face meant wealth, care, and confidence. Women passed these techniques down through generations, creating lineages of beauty knowledge. Even noble women wrote skincare guides. Empress Julia Domna, known for her flawless complexion, was said to employ 4 attendants solely for skin and hair maintenance. She favored a blend of rose oil, barley water, and fig extract, applied daily in a quiet corner of her palace. Lasting influence. Today, Roman exfoliating methods live on in salt scrubs, oil cleansers, facial steaming, honey masks. Their beauty routines were intimate and inventive, shaped not by brands or packaging, but by intuition, nature, and time. In every pumice stone and perfumed towel, Roman women carved their place in beauty history. Hair, wigs, and Roman elegance, secrets of ancient hairstyles. When we picture Roman women, we often see elegant figures draped in togas, adorned with gold, and seated in marble courtyards. But there's one thing that truly defined their presence: their hair. In ancient Rome, hair was not merely a part of a woman's appearance. It was a powerful statement of identity, wealth, morality, and even political allegiance. From towering curls to imported wigs, Roman hair was sculpted with astonishing detail. And behind each hairstyle was a hidden language that spoke of class, culture, and power. The meaning behind the mane. Roman women believed that hair reflected inner order and external virtue. A well-maintained hairstyle signified discipline and femininity, while messy or unkempt hair suggested rebellion, mourning, or disgrace. This belief was so deeply ingrained that even Roman poets and philosophers commented on it. Seneca, for example, described a woman's hair as the crown of her reputation. The styles of status. Among elite Roman women, hairstyles were a display of status. The more elaborate the style, the higher the social class. Common techniques included braiding and twisting strands into coils and buns, using hairpins and ribbons to hold complex styles, curling locks with heated bronze rods, applying beeswax and oils to shape or stiffen the structure. One popular elite style was the tutulus, a high cone-shaped bun, originally worn by Vestal virgins and later adopted by noblewomen. Another was the nodus, a sophisticated arrangement of rolls and curls that framed the face and extended behind the head like a sculpted crown. Wigs and hairpieces, imported luxury. Not all Roman women could grow or maintain long, thick hair, and for many that was no obstacle. Wealthy women imported wigs and extensions made from human hair, often sourced from slaves or foreign merchants. Blonde hair from Germanic tribes was especially prized. Black curls from the East were considered exotic and seductive. Wigs were stored in ornate wooden boxes and styled on mannequin heads. Some noblewomen owned multiple wigs and swapped them out daily, depending on their mood or event. Even Empress Julia Domna, known for her signature helmet of tight curls, wore a false hairpiece constructed from layers of curled and pinned locks. This look became iconic and set the trend across the empire. Hair care tools of antiquity. A Roman woman's beauty chest included an array of hair tools. Bronze curling tongs, calamistrum. Ivory combs with both fine and wide teeth. Glass jars filled with oils and pomades. Hairpins made of gold, bone, or silver. Decorative nets, reticula, to hold buns in place. The use of oils like olive oil and almond oil softened hair and added shine. Beeswax helped hold styles, especially in hot, humid weather. Hair coloring and dyes. Roman women weren't afraid to alter their hair color. Popular methods included henna for a reddish hue, goat fat and beechwood ashes to bleach hair blonde, walnut husks and charcoal for black or brown shades. Though some dyes were damaging, many women accepted the risk to follow trends. Hair color became symbolic. Blonde implied luxury and sensuality, while dark hair was associated with domesticity and seriousness. The slave behind the style, the ornatrix. The intricate hairstyles worn by elite women were rarely self-made. Behind every glamorous Roman coiffure stood a personal hairdresser called the ornatrix, a female slave trained in hairdressing, beauty, and grooming. Oratrices were responsible not only for styling but for mixing and applying hair dyes, preparing wigs and extensions, massaging oils into the scalp, plucking unwanted hair. Many elite women had deep, complicated relationships with their ornatrices, sometimes marked by affection, other times by abuse. Roman satirists even joked about mistresses throwing mirrors or hairpins at their stylists in frustration. Hairstyles for every occasion. Hair was adjusted depending on marital status. Married women wore their hair tied up, virgins left it flowing. Religious rites, Vestal virgins wore specific styles. Mourning, women let hair fall loose or wore dark veils. Celebrations, curls, ribbons, and scented oils adorned the hair. A woman's entire life stage could be mapped by how she wore her hair. It was more than personal care, it was a code, a custom, a cultural performance. Public and political power. Empresses set the tone for empire-wide beauty standards. Their hairstyles were carved into coins, sculptures, and public art. By emulating their styles, ordinary women expressed loyalty, admiration, or aspiration. Some hairstyles even had political overtones. A simpler, matronly bun could signal a return to traditional Roman values, while an exotic or foreign look might suggest openness or rebellion. Hair in Roman myth and literature. Hair appeared constantly in Roman myths and poetry. Was a symbol of virginity, often cut as an offering to gods before marriage. A token of love or grief, as seen in poems where lovers mourn a lost lock. A subject of spells and charms, where strands of hair were used in rituals. One legend tells of Lucretia, a Roman noblewoman whose long hair was a symbol of virtue. After her tragic death, it was said that women braided their hair in her honor. Echoes in today's hairstyles. Modern buns, curls, and hair accessories still mirror ancient Roman trends. Hair remains a language, whether we're preparing for a wedding, a protest, or simply self-expression. Roman women gave us the blueprint, that beauty is intentional, communicative, and deeply rooted in culture. Echoes of beauty, a timeless reflection. As the shadows of history begin to close around our exploration of ancient Roman beauty, we find ourselves standing at the threshold between myth and memory, between the fading pigments of a frescoed wall and the brightly lit aisles of a modern cosmetics store. We've journeyed deep into the marble baths of noble villas, through smoky perfumed rooms, along the courtyards of women grinding rose petals into oils and stirring honey with milk by candlelight. These were not merely routines of vanity, they were rituals of identity, silent declarations of femininity, power, and survival in a male-dominated empire. Beauty in ancient Rome was not passive. It was calculated, intentional, a political performance, a cultural expectation, and sometimes even a personal rebellion. For elite Roman women, beauty was their armor. A carefully whitened face declared wealth. A kohl-lined gaze showed status. Perfumed skin was not simply for attraction. It was a symbol of civilization over chaos, of refinement over rusticity. These practices mirrored the empire itself, sophisticated, expansive, layered in meaning. Yet beauty was never reserved solely for the aristocracy. Across class boundaries, women used what they could: ashes instead of blush, olive oil in place of expensive unguents, crushed flower petals for scent. It wasn't about perfection. It was about aspiration. A mirror held to power. Think of Livia Drusilla, the first empress of Rome. Her modest, controlled appearance, her hairstyle carefully replicated by women across the empire, was as much a political message as a personal one. She became the ideal of Roman womanhood, poised, faithful, elegant, but never flamboyant. Compare her to later women like Poppaea Sabina, wife of Nero, famed for her obsession with youth. She bathed in donkey's milk, slept with veils soaked in rosewater, and was said to keep her own team of cosmetic slaves. Was this vanity? Or was it survival in a court where beauty could be as valuable as cunning? Even among Rome's gods and goddesses, beauty held weight. Venus, goddess of love and desire, wasn't just revered, she was envied, feared, and worshipped. Her mortal imitators sought to channel that divine charm, believing that beauty wasn't just appealing, it was sacred. And in this sacredness lay power. What have we inherited? We may no longer coat our skin in lead-based ceruse or apply crushed beetle shells to our lips, but the obsession with complexion, with smoothness, with youth, echoes loudly through the centuries. Roman women bleached their hair to appear fashionable. Today, millions sit under lights and chemicals to achieve the same effect. In every lipstick advertisement and skin serum label, you'll find remnants of the Roman obsession, only modernized, sanitized, packaged. But let's not mistake continuity for progress. The Romans believed physical beauty could reflect inner virtue, but they also understood it as a tool to attract, to distract, to manipulate, to survive. It's this complex view that resonates most powerfully now. We are not the first to struggle with the double edge of beauty, its blessing and its burden. Beauty as resistance. Among all the masks and rituals, some Roman women used beauty as resistance. Those denied a voice could still wear color. Those forbidden education could leave a legacy in how they carried themselves. The body became a scroll on which their autonomy was written, if only in fleeting pigments. Even slaves, who were often stripped of names, found small ways to reclaim identity through fragrance, hairstyles, or pierced jewelry. Beauty became a whisper of rebellion, a way of saying, I am still here. And in many ways, that whisper still travels to us through time. The timeless ritual. What endures is not just what Roman women applied, but why they applied it. Behind every dab of honey, every mirrored glance, every plucked eyebrow, there was intent. There was emotion. There was hope. To beautify oneself in ancient Rome wasn't simply to prepare for admiration. It was a form of storytelling, of telling the world this is who I am, who I wish to be, or what I must appear to be in order to survive. And is that not still true? When we apply our favorite scent, style our hair, or select a shade of lipstick, aren't we all just continuing the legacy? Reaching across time and sharing the same universal impulse? To be seen, to be desired, to be known. So as our journey ends, let us not remember Roman beauty simply as a curiosity of the past. Let us remember it as a mirror, not polished but cracked with wisdom. It shows us that beauty in every era is as much about power as it is about petals, as much about fear as it is about fascination. The jars may have changed, the recipes refined, but the desire remains timeless. And perhaps, just perhaps, that is what makes us human.